Hey guys, welcome back to Robotics. I hope you're doing well. Today we have our 8th lecture on forward kinematics. I'm really excited for this lecture because forward kinematics is one of the key concepts in robotics. And it's actually something that we've been building up towards in many of our previous lectures. I want to show you this video as an example. Here I've got an industrial robot arm that's picking up different engine parts and moving them from one place to another. To do the task correctly, the robot's got to be powerful, but it also has to be precise. It needs to get the right position and orientation of its gripper in order to pick up these parts and move them wherever it wants to go. But that leads to another question. How does the robot even know where its gripper is in space? Take your own arm, right? If you move all these different joints, your hand also moves around. I want to make sure that my robot understands how, if it moves the different joints of the robot, it knows exactly where its gripper is, or its hand is in space. And that concept is what we're going to cover today's lecture on forward kinematics. So first I want to talk about what are forward kinematics. And next I want to explain a sort of step-by-step process you can use to find your robot's forward kinematics. So first off, this lecture is going to be restricted to serial robot arms, open kinematic chains. And second, I want to know that there are many possible ways to find a robot's forward kinematics. And the method I'm showing you is one that builds upon the topics we've covered already in this lecture series, such as what are screws and how I convert screws into transformation matrices. Okay, so let's get started. Here I've got my serial robot arm. This is a Canova robot, and it's got a bunch of different revolute joints in series in order to build this overall arm. Let's say this arm overall has n different joints. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the position of each of these joints. I'm going to measure it using something like an encoder. So I've measured the position of the first joint, the second joint, all the way out to the nth joint. Once I've measured each of these different joint values, I'm going to stack them together to form a vector. It's going to be an n-dimensional vector of my overall joint position. And I'm going to call that theta. Now, sure, for this robot, all the joints are revolute, and so it's totally fine for each of these joints to have a measurement of something like radians. Your robot might have a combination of prismatic and revolute joints, and that's totally fine. Maybe theta 1 is a revolute joint with units of radians, theta 2 is a prismatic joint with units of meters. Makes sense. All you want to do is just measure each of your different joint positions and stack them together to form this overall joint position vector. The question we want to ask is, if I know this joint position vector theta, I want to understand what's the position and the orientation of the robot's end effector. So if I can measure theta, where is the robot's end effector? The answer to that question lies in the forward kinematics. So forward kinematics is going to be a mapping from joint position theta into this transformation matrix T. So let's start off with these different frames. Here, S is my spatial or fixed world frame. This frame does not move. So this is us kind of looking at the robot's end effector as it moves around. Then over here, I've got this body frame B that I've attached to my point of interest. In most cases, we attach it to the end effector because we're trying to figure out where the end effector is. So this frame B moves wherever the end effector moves. And what I want to understand is, as this end effector moves around in space, I want to figure out its orientation and its position with respect to my spatial frame S. And that is going to be this transformation matrix T. Reminder, transformation matrices have rotation and position kind of encoded within that matrix. So it's going to capture the orientation and the position of this frame B with respect to my spatial frame S. I want to emphasize that this is a function of theta. And the reason why is because as I move my different joints, I change the position and the orientation of B with respect to S. So that's why I've got T of theta. Okay, so that's what the forward kinematics are. Now, how do we go about finding them? The good news is we've actually already started on that process with our previous lectures. So in the previous lecture, we derived this formula that you see right here. We start off with some sort of initial transformation matrix. We multiply it by the motion caused by one joint, and we get the resulting transformation matrix that captures how the robot moves after we've moved this joint by theta units. So you can think about this as, hey, this is the forward kinematics for a robot that just has one joint. I've got my initial transformation matrix, I've got the motion, and I get my resulting transformation matrix. But how am I going to scale this up when my robot has n different joints and it can move any of those different joints in this overall kinematic chain? It's actually really straightforward, and we can build it into something called the product of exponentials formula. So this is going to apply to serial robots with n joints. I want to start off with the middle of this product of exponentials formula. This is what we've added. So instead of just having one joint, here we're going to have n different joints. And we're going to multiply the motion that's caused by each of these joints in sequence. So here, this is a transformation matrix that captures the motion caused by the first joint. This is a transformation matrix that captures the motion caused by the second joint, all the way out to this transformation matrix that captures the motion caused by the nth joint. Now, the order of multiplication, as you know, is really important. And here we recognize that each of these motions is written with respect to this spatial frame. And so we want to pre-multiply because these motions are in the spatial frame. Another maybe intuitive explanation here is this first joint is the joint that's at the base of my robot arm. So when I move that joint, it moves everything after it. And so it kind of makes sense that this would be the first thing in my multiplication, because if I change this, it's going to affect everything after it in the multiplication. Now, conversely, my nth joint, that's the last joint in my kinematic chain. So if I move that, it doesn't have any impact on the joints that come before it. So it makes sense then that we would have n as the last thing in this sequence, because it's not going to have any impact on these previous elements. So this is the overall order of multiplication, and we're capturing the motion caused by each joint in the order of those joints. Now I want to highlight the last and the first terms. So this right here, this is t of 0. This is the initial transformation matrix when my robot is in its home position. You can think about this as the transformation matrix from S to B when theta is equal to 0. So all my different joints are at their 0 position, their home positions. And often that can be up to you to define what do you want theta 0 to be. This is going to be your home position. Now here's the motion, and I'm getting out this transformation matrix T of theta. This is my goal. This is capturing the position and orientation of this frame B with respect to S as a function of theta. I also want to touch on these different screws right here. I've got S1, S2, all the way out through Sn. Now, we know a little bit about what these screws are from our previous lectures, but I want to make sure that you know how to define them. So we're going to define these screws when we're finding our forward kinematics. We define the screws when theta is equal to 0. So we put our robot in its home position, or you think about your robot being in its home position. You write out T of 0, and you write out each of these screws when the robot is in that home position. And this is a mistake that often happens where students will include theta either in their home position or in one of these screws. Theta should never be included because at your home position, theta is equal to 0. So you should never have theta in S1, S2, all the way out through Sn, or in T of 0. Okay, so with that in mind, here's the overall process that you should use in order to find your robot's forward kinematics. First, you want to define what is your robot's home position, i.e., when is theta equal to 0? Sometimes this is given to you, other times it's up for you to pick. But you first want to define that robot's home position. Once you have that home position, you can find T of 0. That's the transformation matrix from S to B in the home position. Often you can just get that by looking at the drawing and looking at the two different coordinate frames. Next, you want to start from the joint closest to the robot's base and work your way outwards. And you want to find all of the screws, S1 all the way out through Sn. Now, of course, you could have prismatic and revolute joints along this kinematic chain, and so you want to use the correct formula depending on what type of joint you have. If you have a prismatic joint, you want to use this formula right here. And if you have a revolute joint, you want to use this formula right here. And if you've kind of forgotten these formulas, or you don't know how to use them, check out our lecture on screws, which explains the definitions for both of these formulas. And as a reminder, just one more time I'll mention it, you want to define these screws when the robot is in its home position. So you won't have to worry about theta here, just the robot in its home position. So once you get all these screws and you get T of 0, you're actually set. That's all you need to do. You just plug them into the product of exponentials formula, and there you go. Now you have your robot's forward kinematics. Cool. And so that's it. That's how you find a robot's forward kinematics, and also just a better understanding of what are forward kinematics. Before you move on to the next lecture, I encourage you to go through the practice set. As a reminder, the first page has got the problems, the following pages have their solutions, and you can find it in the description or the pinned comment. Once you're ready, move on to the next lecture. And here, we're going to just start practicing. We're going to go through some examples of finding these forward kinematics and get a better understanding of how we can use these forward kinematics for different robot arms. So I'll see you there.